afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Retail Corner podcast. I am joined today by Cooper Harris, the CEO and founder of Klickly, which is really doing some kind of cool stuff in the advertising space for omnichannel. Cooper, thank you very much for joining us.
It is such a pleasure to be here. I'm excited.
Awesome, awesome. So, for those of us that aren't 100% familiar with Klickly or yourself, can you kind of walk us through your entrepreneurial journey? Kind of tell us a little bit about Klickly a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So Klickly is my third company now, and it is AI-driven premium advertising, but paid on a performance basis. So
Oh,
super
okay.
unique, driven by AI. Yeah, and there's some nuances there that are a little bit different. We have fully engageable ads on 5 million sites out there, so the consumer gets a really fun, very engaging consumer
Okay.
experience when they're interacting with Klickly. And this, as I mentioned, isn't my first company. I guess maybe I'm almost serial as a founder, not quite yet, maybe. But but yeah, my journey came from basically I entered into tech through doing a bunch of hackathons. And so hackathons, for those
Nice.
folks who don't know, they sound kind of nefarious. They're not. This is a 24 to 48 hour competition where a group of people, usually a lot of engineers, designers, techies like myself, we jump
Sure.
into a room together, and for 24 to 48 hours we work really hard to build like the coolest app, the coolest idea, the coolest business. And then usually at the end there's some kind of like pitch and like judges who then assign you some amount of money or credits or something to go forth and build said great app that you've come up with. So anyway, that's a hackathon. I at one point was like the winningest female hackathon around the West Coast. Took great pride in this, by the way. And so yeah, that's how I got into tech.
I mean, if you're going to break into tech, that is the way to do it. I mean, like, that's like Shark Tank with actual sharks. It's,
Full bore ahead, yes, very intense. And it's fabulous training because it forces you to be very iterative and kill bad ideas quickly.
yeah, I mean, which as an entrepreneur you have to do. You have to realize saying, okay, we're gonna spend our energy here rather than here. And so,
Exactly.
but let me ask you about Clickly because you talked a couple things. You said that you're not click per million. You're not a. It's more performance based.
It is totally performance based. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you got it. I felt like when I look out there, there's so many brands doing really cool, innovative things. It's very exciting, and they certainly need to be known by the consumer, and therefore they need to advertise. But a lot of the legacy advertising platforms are paid on a CPM, a cost per milli, as you said. So
Yeah.
you're paying for every thousand as you show, and that's a tough model because it made sense back in the day when you didn't have AI and you couldn't measure things properly. But it's a little bit difficult now that we know, 20 to 40% of the internet views are fraud. They're not real people. Uh,
Oh,
a huge similar portion of clicks are not actually people. So they're like click farms in, various third world countries or just bots. And
yeah.
so if you think about asking a brand to like sign up and put a lot of spend onto X or Y or Z advertising
Sure.
platform, but you're saying like, hey, in the course of that, you might run into, a huge percentage of the views aren't real, a huge percentage of the clicks aren't real. So then what do you have to base things on? Well, the success should be, okay, performance based, meaning who purchased. So we just jumped straight to charging only when folks that we show ads to are actually purchasing.
Okay,
So
so
it's
it's
not
like
a CPC. I should clarify. Well, so a lot of people talk about performance being like a cost per click. That's indicative
okay,
of performance, but ultimately, I don't care how many clicks I get. I care about my purchases ultimately if I'm a
yeah.
retailer. And so therefore we charge per purchase, not per click.
That's kind of cool. So a lot of times people don't even know that they're using Clickly because uh, they're redirected from like say Facebook or something along those lines, and they're purchasing right inside the Clickly, right
Yeah.
inside that advertisement, basically,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. So from a brand's perspective, it's cool because it's performance based on an actual CPA, an actual purchase. And from a consumer's perspective, it's cool as well. The consumer gets to engage with an ad or a widget on any number of sites online, about 5 million. And this widget or ad is fully engageable. So we have a cool tech that allows the consumer to like scroll through, look at different pictures, check out the different colors that are available,
Sure.
description, read even reviews there, all without leaving the page. An example of that, just to put it in perspective, if
Yeah.
Cooper,
Yeah.
consumer who's busy, right, is on Vogue and wants to engage with a really cool ad or widget that she sees featuring some cute new pair of shoes, Cooper doesn't necessarily want to like click through an ad to go to somewhere else. Like clicking on ads is arguably not what people want to do, or it's also not what
Sure.
they do at all. So this is an engageable commerce module, and Cooper can like click through and put things in a cart. I could read about it. I could even like go look at other products, all within this little widget, which is nice because that allows me to like at a low level of commitment get familiar with the brand. So the
Okay.
brand or the retailer, we say brand, but can educate the consumer with a lot less commitment from the consumer, and allows the consumer to purchase in that widget as well, which is kind of fun.
Okay. So that's how you kind of you're cutting through the noise, because I mean we see ads constantly, and
Yes.
so you kind of cut through the noise by making it engageable, making it sort of make it almost personalized.
Yeah.
And so
Exactly.
when you were talking about 30 to 40% of people or bots or click farms or whatever
Yeah.
of the internet not being real, which why would the internet not be real? Uh, uh, how do you find that fidelity of the consumer? How do you find that reality? How do you research a consumer?
Oh, yeah.
Or,
So,
or, or
well, we put that off on the AI. So there's no research
okay,
being done whatsoever. No, it's just the AI basically deciding, is this person someone that we know, someone that we have seen engage in, real person-like behavior? Have they exhibited interests like a real person? Do they behave like a real person? And keep in mind that part of the model that we've adopted with Klickly, which is super exciting, it's performance-based, it also means it's risky for us. So it's very
okay,
much in our best interest to not pay to show, ads or commerce modules to folks who aren't going to buy, because it costs us, just to be clear, Klickly is fronting this spend to get our brands and our
oh, wow,
retailers' products out into the web. So we're paying for the advertising, so to speak, the promotion. We pay
sure.
for that upfront. So it behooves us to make sure we avoid bots, avoid fake views, because they don't have credit cards. They're not going to go buy, which is the only way we make money.
Hmm. So, can you tell me like an example of one of your clients or one of your brands that you kind of you went into a space and you realized that there was uh, a little bit more of a mountain to climb when it comes to figuring out their customers?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you one that intuitively seems tough and ended up being kind of very successful. So we had a legacy CPG company that sells snacks. They're fabulous. We love them. They're old. They're many, many years old. They're from the turn of this past century, and they wanted to go direct to consumer, which was really cool. And by the way, very forward thinking. And we were like, well, how do you find, I don't know, like, how do you find this set of consumers for this snack company that's never bought online before?
Yeah, direct to
They're
consumer
just
snacks is yeah,
grabbing it off the shelf in the store in person.
yeah.
So we have a number of snack and food and beverage companies on our platform already. And so we've already developed a model that helps find people who might like to snack. So it's kind of, so we weren't sure if it would work or not, but we did leverage that model, and then it seemed to work quite well. We grew just hugely over the first 3 months, and that was exciting because I wasn't sure we'd be able to build them an audience at all, and we did.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, you're using data and everything else collected across brands, across basically the entire landscape, and applying it specifically to your customers, applying it to new old lessons learned applied to new problems, kind of
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the beauty, right, of AI is as an example, like, again, I'm talking about those commerce modules or widgets that we have on those 5 million upper funnel websites. Think Vogue, ESPN, I don't know, Cosmo, all those traditional
thing.
websites, which are so fun to read, right? But that's kind of where we live, and 5 million of them. So it's a big swath of what we call the upper funnel internet. For non-marketers, that won't mean anything, but for marketers, they're like, "Oh, yeah, this is where people start their consumer journey. This is where they get introduced to your brand or your advertiser, right? It's in the
Okay.
upper funnel." And so this is a fabulous place to start gleaning those. We call them consumer insights, right? We see that those insights of what someone might be excited about and what they might not be excited about.
So can you give me an example of like a time when you maybe started out with a new client? They said, oh, well, obviously our consumer is A, B, and C, and then they ended up being D. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. I'll give you a funny example. So this is this is from a vertical that is very it's a new vertical because prior to recently it wasn't something that you could advertise, and that's CBD. There are a lot of old school CBD companies out there, but there's also a lot of new, very premium CBD infused tinctures, oils,
sure.
like facial products, right, et cetera. Very expensive, very high end. And we worked with a brand who, again, had great backing, was taking to market a new product in the CBD space. And they just assumed that the consumer would be like, 20s to early 30s, kind of maybe hippie adjacent. I don't know, like new agey hipster, all the things I wish I were. Uh, but
Sure,
basically,
you'll be
that
right.
was not correct. They were completely wrong. The demographic that emerged, again, found by the model, was that it was older women who were, 45 to 65 years old, and they were suburban, maybe becoming empty nesters. How fascinating. We wouldn't have thought that. They definitely didn't think that. And we were able to very quickly show them a whole new demographic.
Huh.
Isn't that funny?
That's cool. So is there a difference between you're working with a new product and a new brand like that versus a legacy brand when it's like I if you have an established omni-channel presence out in the
Right.
universe, and I would imagine Clickly folds in pretty easily. But
Very.
if you're breaking into omni-channel, which I mean, there's still people out there that are like very they barely have a big toe into the omni-channel universe,
Sure.
and so
Sure.
yeah, is your approach different between those two customers or two clients?
Yes and no. So, yes, because often when newer brands that are coming to market, they may not have a good sense of who their customers are, and we can be surprised. Like the
Right.
example I just gave with the brand new, very premium CBD brand. But the no answer is no, because we're using AI models. And the really cool thing is that, you don't have to have human intelligence behind it. It's plug and play. It's always, I hate to say this, it might really upset a lot of people. It will always be better than people. It will always be better than your media buyer. I'm just saying, because it can make, multi-millions of calculations per millisecond. We just, the the magnitude of the compute
Sure.
power there and the speed at which it can learn and improve is far better than a back room full of a ton of media buyers who have to guess. And even if they're amazing A/B testers, like that takes weeks. But AI can do that in like minutes.
Yeah.
So it's really important, even if it is a legacy brand and they may know all those things. And, arguably that's still really important for certain like storytelling and branding aspects of your brand. But where it just comes to like advertising and finding the new customer base, we're obviously very biased, but we are very bullish on the idea that you have to be using AI now or you're falling dramatically behind. You can still use all the other amazing elements and avenues, but you need.
Sure. Well, I mean, before AI, we didn't have this information. The level of data that's available now.
Yeah.
We would have, oh, we have a customer survey that's, or something along the lines, and we'd have a few
Yes,
thousand data points.
that's right.
Now we have millions of data points a day, kind of thing, and being able to just consume that and actually make decisions is really important. So we talked about like figuring out good ideas versus bad ideas and everything else like that, and how you were kind of a serial entrepreneur at this point. I'm gonna tell
I
you.
appreciate that.
You've had good ideas after good ideas, and so when taking a company from the entrepreneurial state to a point where you are successful and everything else like that. Can you kind of talk to me about that journey and kind of where, how does that work for you specifically? Because you've done it
Yes.
successfully.
I've done it multiple times. Yeah, and I think it's a very I'm learning, I think that it's a very specific recipe that you can kind of follow, and it isn't what I thought turning on like that initial entrepreneurial like skill. I approached it wrong. So I
Okay,
think this applies to anyone trying to start a business, but also applies to folks in larger companies who want to become entrepreneurial, to have that, that small unit within your business that kind of pushes the envelope a little bit. You want that. And
sure.
unlike a tried and true large company with big backers, maybe even public, that has to be very thoughtful in answers to a lot of folks. As a founder, when you're starting your business, you are only responsible to you and, not breaking rules and laws and stuff, being a good person. Hopefully,
Laws, yeah, yeah, sure.
for the most part, ideally, I try to do that. But you aren't responsible to so many stakeholders. And so you can be more aggressive, and I don't think that I moved quickly enough when I started. I think that I was very, you might have heard this. Like, people are like, oh, there's no good ideas. It's all about execution. That's true. I thought I had a great idea. I mean, I probably did, but it's irrelevant. What matters is, can you actually build this? Can you execute, and can you make it a reality? So the kind of thing I'm saying, like, don't do is be very like particular and like, I don't know, scared to share your idea with people. Like, so close to the vest, you hold this idea so close to the vest, you're convinced everyone's going to steal it, and you tell no one about it. And then, 2 years later, you have like a tiny MVP, minimal viable product, that barely works or whatever, because you haven't told anyone, you haven't enlisted the proper resources, and you haven't put it out there. All that to
So,
say, I think we want to emulate Goethe when he's like, whatever you can dream, you can do. Do it, begin it. Genius has, was it, power and magic in it, right? So just go boldly in the direction of your dreams, and things tend to fall into place, and it'll happen quicker.
how am I supposed to argue with Gerda?
You can't. You can't. German
Perfect.
philosophers, I'm telling you.
Hey, that's perfect. And so, I think we're bumping up against our time limit here, but yeah, I wanted to thank you so much for being a part of this. I think it's, yeah, I was on I was on my phone the other day and I wondered if I was interacting with Klickly, and
You might have
so I
been.
probably was. Probably
Yep.
was. So thank you again. We'll check in and see how you're doing in a few months.
That sounds great. Thank you so much. Enjoyed it.
All right, thanks, Cooper.
Take care.
If you would like to be featured on our podcast, please email us at podcast@retailcorner.live or visit our website, retailcorner.live. Looking forward to having you as our guest on our podcast, and thank you so much for listening.